one of the first 2 or 3 videos got a couple million views, and
oh my gosh,
was me filing my piston rings at my desk with a flat file.
You have the disease that a lot of us also have.
Can't learn how to swim by reading about water, right? So
it's going to tell you that it's wet.
Should drive about like a early 2000s Chevy, but it should look like a 75 Chevy, which is kind of the goal.
In my opinion, one of the most fascinating stories out there on social media right now.
Got some, minor modifications for it later. But
I think the social media has been a good... That's Dave. It's not God in the background. It's talking to us. Everybody, welcome back to an episode of the Builders Lounge. It's an awesome day because we have, I consider him a new friend as well as an icon for a lot of people out there in the industry. I'm talking about the dorm room mechanic. If anybody has followed this guy's story, I'm captivated, and so I would assume that everybody else out there is captivated. This is a story of a lot of just triumph, I think, for the regular guy that's just like, this is something cool. The dorm room mechanic is that guy. But there's also a few things that have happened in his story that we want to dive into because it's not all perfect. And there's some roadblocks that he's hit, and so we're going to dive into that and really get to know this icon, dorm room mechanic. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us today. Really happy to have you.
Anytime. Yeah, it's a blast.
So, am I okay to call you Andrew, or do you want the world to know you as the dorm room mechanic?
Oh, Andrew works great. Bucky's a nickname I go by sometimes. I don't care. Whatever makes my head turn.
So. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, tell us a little bit about your background. You're going to school right now. We'll dive into how you became the dorm room mechanic, but where are you going to school currently?
Yeah, I'm at the University of Idaho. I'm a mechanical engineering major. I'm a senior right now, so just about done, hopefully, as long as all goes according to plan. But I really came into college looking to design tractors. I've always enjoyed farming. I do harvest in the summers kind of thing.
Interesting.
Came into college really looking at the tractor design, tractor engine, tractor platform. And then I've kind of transitioned to the automotive side of things, obviously. Cars was always a hobby since high school, I would say. I really entered high school with zero knowledge, but during COVID, I kind of learned a little bit about cars. My grandpa taught me a little bit, worked there. And so just a mechanical engineering major, just full-time student and hanging out.
So do you think you're still going to pursue designing and building tractors, or are you going to take more of an automotive turn?
I think I've turned more towards the automotive side of things, not necessarily just in the social media stuff, but I just find car engines fascinating. I don't know. Their tractor engines are really similar. There's not, a huge leap there.
Right.
But I like cars. I like going fast, it's a secret fun, but.
Well, we'll dive into a little bit more personal things here before we get into your story and you've got an engine behind you. We've got an engine behind us. So I think the fit is perfect, but you're quite I think you're pretty ambitious. I see on your Instagram, at least is what I follow, or TikTok, is you also wrestle as well.
It's true. Yeah.
And you seem like, I mean, didn't you just win something or?
Yeah, I think I'm 14-7 right now, so nothing
Holy
crazy.
cow.
It's pretty low level college wrestling, nothing nothing wild, but I'm having fun with it. I wasn't really planning on continuing wrestling after high school, but it's been a lot of fun in college, so
that's awesome.
I've enjoyed it.
So you don't really need a cherry picker; you can just pick it up and.
Oh boy, I don't know about that. But
so we'll get to the engine side of it then. So how did the dorm room mechanic start?
Yeah.
And I guess why did it start as well?
Yep. That's honestly, I wish it was a cooler story, but I just needed an engine. I've been rebuilding the pickup since high school. An old 75 Chevy square body, kind of dug it out of my grandparents' barn sort of deal.
Yeah.
And it's had an old small block 350, leaked like a sieve. Just not a good engine, you get 8 miles to the gallon and make 150 horsepower. So I thought,
right.
What better time to learn about how to rebuild an engine? I'd never done that before. So I figured that would be be a kind of fun project to dive into, see if I could figure it out, really just needed an engine. So I bought one on Facebook Marketplace for $600 and started rebuilding it as a 5.3 LS, just iron block. Nothing spectacular in that regard either.
Right.
But yeah, just dove into it. I didn't start making videos on it until probably 3 months in.
Okay.
And that's where I was just moving really slowly on the project with classes and everything. I was just like, working on it every 2 weekends or whatever, a couple hours. And I was kind of frustrated at myself. I was like, I want to actually build this engine. So I figured if I filmed it and uploaded it, at least just for myself, I would have like a record of, this is the work I did last week, so just to encourage myself to work faster on it. And then one of the first 2 or 3 videos got a couple million views, and that kind of kickstarted the whole thing. So it was really just a necessity. And then I was just filming videos for myself, and people liked it. So here we are.
Did you ever do any social media or anything before that?
No, not at all.
Wow.
I kind of considered it, kind of messed with a couple other ideas, but never actually, sat down and made videos until this. And it really wasn't videos that I was intending on people super seeing, I posted them to a separate account. It was originally called Engine in the Room, because that's really all it was. It's just an engine in my bedroom.
Yeah.
But I had a buddy at home that suggested I call it Dorm Room Mechanic. And I said, oh, that's kind of funny. I'll run with that. And so here we are. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's such a cool story. So did it start then in your dorm room?
Yep.
So how did
first video was last February. So
wow. Okay. So this is, we just passed an anniversary then.
Yep.
Okay.
Pretty much.
Cool.
Yeah. Yep. 1 year.
So how was it wheeling an engine through your dorm? You had to catch a few eyes, I would think, at school.
For sure. It's, there was certainly a couple people that thought it was pretty funny. I did do it at night. So a little under cover of darkness sort of thing. So there wasn't, super high traffic. Getting it out of the bed of the truck was a little bit interesting because I didn't have an engine hoist at that time. But I found that if I just backed my pickup up to the curb, and then kind of had a buddy stand on the tailgate, it was the right height for the engine stand to just wheel right up to it. And so, it was a lot simpler. Some people were like, how the heck did you get that thing in there? And it rolled right in, fit through the door. There's no real challenges there. So, it was pretty good.
And then how long did it take you? How did you gather all your parts? Did you just source them online from somewhere? How long did the build go, and how did you get all the stuff?
It took, let's see, I kind of had the block cleaned up and everything before I started making videos. So disassembly and whatnot took, a little while, but that's when I was working really slow. Once I started making videos on it and moving through it, it took a good chunk of this semester just because it was still, full-time student. I got stuff going on, right. But I would say, sourcing parts online, just generic, BTR, all sorts of, any name brand.
Right.
And I'd say it took a good chunk of this semester to get all put together and make videos on it and whatnot, but runs good. So far at least, but yeah.
So let's dive into that. So it runs good now, but didn't you hit a roadblock in your dorm as you were building it? And didn't somebody say, not okay?
Yeah. So originally when I was building it, my boss, I was a resident assistant in the dorms, so kind of a housing employee, which made it kind of funny because, there's not super specific rules regarding building an engine in a dorm. They
probably
I don't know
never
if they've ever
been done before.
Yeah, yep. They don't run into that problem very often.
Right.
But they do have a clause in the housing contract about no car parts in general. You can't do automotive work.
Okay.
My boss knew about it and it was fine with it. It was kind of like, okay, yeah, you're good as long as you don't mess stuff up. But once I started making videos on it and a couple million people saw it, one of the videos I said I was going to, I alluded to the fact that I was going to start it up in the dorm, which I totally would have. And the, housing didn't super love that. So they basically said, get it out. And so I moved it to the backseat of my car and finished it back there. So.
And the backseat of what car? I think this is an interesting thing.
True. Yeah. An 83 Accord that I got on Facebook Marketplace for $200.
So you fit a 5.3 V8 engine in the back of an 83 Accord?
Yep. So
Wow.
yeah, I had to gutted the entire interior, kind of just took all the seats out. Spent probably a day and a half welding in an engine stand and kind of making a custom engine stand out of some tubing. And then yeah, it fit remarkably well. I was actually shocked that I nailed it that perfectly with the engine stand welding. But
I'm sure Honda did not intend for that when they built
I don't
the
think so.
Accord.
Yeah, but they built the perfect size car for building a 5.3. So
Okay, good to know for anybody out there that's looking to do that.
Yep. I think if you have a 6.0 though, it gets a little tight. I was a little concerned getting it out, but
5.3 liters, that's the maximum.
5.3 is the max. Yep. Yeah. Anything under 5.3 is fine in an Accord.
And so you finished building it in there, and is it in the square body now, or?
Yep. Yeah. Fully swapped into the square body now. I had it running for a second, rebuilt my transmission, did some other things. The ECU is not in it right now, but it runs good. It's not running currently, but that's just how project cars go. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. So is that, I know you said you never rebuilt an engine before. So that was your first one, but have you ever removed and installed an engine before that too, or was this a first?
No,
as well?
first everything. On that truck, I'd pretty much done everything else. I felt like, it was a real rust bucket to begin with. So I did all the body work and learned a ton there. Did some suspension work and all that. Nothing crazy, but I felt like I'd kind of learned about every other part of the vehicle. And so I figured, the last thing is the drivetrain. And what better way to do it than just going for it? So here we are, and it's all back together now. So it's a little scary, but yeah, should drive about like a early 2000s Chevy. But it should look like a 75 Chevy, which is kind of the goal. So
yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Cool. Well, that's awesome. So with your social media endeavor, and just in my opinion, one of the most fascinating stories out there on social media right now. Did you ever think when you started this and started doing the videos, I know you said that you did them to kind of record yourself and document what was going on, to whether it's like a notebook to keep track of it all. But did you ever have any hope that this would grow into what it's grown, and to inspire people, or to create these connections that you have?
Not at all. I never imagined it would grow this much. But now that it's grown, obviously I'm into it, and I'm excited about it. So I'm hoping to grow it more. But yeah, I really was not I was expecting to have like a couple hundred, maybe 1,000 followers, and like, look at this, guys, this is my little project. But now it's grown to proportions I never thought would be for me. But it's fun. So
you've picked up this huge traction. Are you 600,000 followers on Instagram?
If I combine all platforms, I think I'm at 500, middle 500s, low 500s on Instagram right now. So yep, little over 500,000 just on Instagram. So it's crazy. Yeah,
that is such a big reach. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Anything. So here's kind of a tricky question, but has anything negative come out of it that you're like, oh, great, I'm in this far, I have these many followers? I want to dive into the positive as well. We're talking about positive, but has anything been negative that you're like, I shouldn't have done this, or made you regret it, or that you've learned?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I've never taken it seriously to the point where it really stresses me out. I think some people get a little caught up, like, oh, I've got all these people watching. I don't, at least I try not to care that much. I'm still trying to just make videos for myself, whatever I feel like, this would be funny. And, there's really not there's certainly a little bit of a pressure to like post a video, like, oh, I've got like people waiting on me, people, that's like, all of a sudden I've got this audience that wants to see. But I really try to not care about followers, like, in the sense that like, I'm just going to post and if people like it, they like it.
Right.
I think that, as far as negatives, it's mostly just a time management thing. I wouldn't even call that a negative. I'd just call it a new challenge. Just juggling school and wrestling and social media and, making videos and managing the business side of the social media and just like managing everything all at once. It's certainly a job. once you get into it. And so I'd say that some of the time management is kind of a challenge, but as far as negatives, it's been really wholesome overall. There's really not too much stress about it, and
that's good.
I've had a blast with it so far. So
that's good.
Yeah.
I think maybe anybody out there watching and some of the younger generation, you're kind of part of that, but any teenager or person out there that attaches a certain personal value to social media, I think they should listen to what you're talking about. It's a difficult thing to do, and a difficult thing for people, I think, to separate is my value is based on followers, instead of you're just like, it is what it is. Like, I'm having fun with it, and if it's good, then great.
Yeah, no, I think that people get a little caught up. I don't know. I try, like, if I'm meeting people, I don't tell them that I do social media, really. I had a professor that just found out probably 2 days ago. And I was like, oh yeah, I kind of had to explain it to him in this situation, but he thought it was the coolest thing ever. And I'm like, I don't know, it's just fun. I just enjoy it. And it's like, just post silly little videos, nothing crazy, but people do attach a value to having a bunch of followers. It's like, I don't know. It's just, I'm just making silly videos. There's no, I don't know.
Do you think that's like the engineer side of your brain? Because obviously you're really smart. You're a senior in college doing that. Do you think that's the engineer side of your brain that's just like, this is, I can separate it. Like it's easy. Or do you think it's, did you learn that growing up, that like emotional resilience or that emotional maturity? Where did you pick that up from?
That's a great question. Never put a crazy amount of thought into that. Okay. I think part of it comes from the fact that I grew really quickly. Kind of being like, okay, last year at this time, for example, I was not in this situation. I was just building an engine. There's like, right. It was a pretty fast come up. So it's not a huge, like, if it disappeared tomorrow, it's whatever. It's like, be back where I started. There's not really any, not a huge downside to that. It's all net positive. So I think that part of it could have been how I was raised. I have no idea. I'm really just a guy. There's no, like, I don't know. I don't view my content as anything special. I don't put a bunch of time into editing it. It's really just me building an engine and, doing whatever I feel like on camera. But I would say that the biggest thing is just that, I've really kind of gotten used to the fact that, like, if I didn't have any followers tomorrow, that's totally fine with me. I don't care that much about it. So it's not
that's impressive.
That's the goal, at least.
Yeah. I hope some young generation, some teenager, somebody watching this out there I think you strike a chord with somebody, and I hope you do, because it's impressive. And social media can be a great tool, but I think it can also be a dangerous one. So
I think some people apply a little too much pressure to themselves, especially once they start seeing some success with follower counts, and then they stress themselves out, and it's just not worth all that. I mean, you can be happy and just post for fun. So,
right.
I don't know. Yeah.
So what kind of positive things have come because of social media? It sounds like at school you have professors that don't even know; they just know you as Andrew, and you're showing up to class and doing your work. But what kind of positive things have come because of the dorm room mechanic?
Yeah, I would say getting projects done faster, for sure. I got through my engine last year faster and worked with a couple companies to make it a little bit cooler than I imagined. I was really just going to rebuild it back to stock, but with a few companies, I was able to kind of do a couple little upgrades and have a little bit cooler of a project to work on.
Cool.
I'd say the networking aspect of things, going to SEMA and PRI and going to these really cool shows, meeting people like y'all. And it's just spectacular meeting people in the industry that I've looked up to or that I've watched videos on for a while,
right.
To be able to meet those people and say, oh, what's up? And it's just absolutely spectacular to network with people that I've thought were cool for a while that, now might think I'm cool. And I'm like, I don't know. But overall, it's been incredibly wholesome. I have almost no negative comments on videos.
Awesome.
It's really just people happy to see a young guy doing engine work. So,
yeah. Well, speaking of engine work, So I know that behind you, that's not a 5.3 LS.
It's
What kind
true.
of project do you have going on back there?
Yeah. So this engine I've had for longer than I should. I want to be further through it right now, but school's been taking up a lot of time. This is a B18 B1 Honda engine. Big reason for building this is that I was happy with the 5.3. I thought, okay, this is cool. I can do a pushrod V8 now.
Right.
Let me dive into something I have I have no knowledge about.
Okay.
It's really just a learning experience for me. This is like a little school project, but not for school kind of deal. I'm just doing it to see if I can do it.
Right.
And yeah, I have no idea anything about Japanese engines, and so I figure what better way to learn than dive into it head first. So
yeah. So how far along are you? It looks like you've got timing on.
I'm still on disassembly. It's going really slow, but yeah, it should be pretty cool. I've got some, minor modifications for it later that, gonna push a little power out of it, but
okay. That's a big minor modification.
So, it'll be a funny project. I've never done a boosted build before, so I'm kind of diving into the whole Honda world for a second. I think I'll go back to the V8 world afterwards, but I want to learn about everything and kind of see what it's all about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to school. You're a senior, and you've done a domestic engine, and now you get to do a Japanese engine. So that's
exactly.
So you're just increasing your knowledge. It's
exactly.
Great.
That's the goal. Yeah.
You're a senior, hopefully finishing up school here. Where do you see yourself in the next 3 to 5 years? Where do you want to be? What's your goals or aspirations once you're done with school?
Yeah, that's the question. That's the question of the semester for me right now.
I know that's probably consuming your thoughts a lot.
It is. Yeah, a little bit. I'm really playing it by ear right now. After I finish school, I want to work just something menial, just make enough money to get by for a couple months, just to not think about school for a little bit.
Yeah.
I'd love to not think about anything intellectual for a month or two.
Fair.
But I'm really unsure right now, because I think I could probably run with the whole content creation, video making, and make enough money to get by on that.
Okay.
But also that's like, I've got an engineering degree, and, I don't necessarily want to depend on social media as an income source. It's not necessarily the most long-term plan of all time. So it's a little bit of a toss up there. I really don't know is the only answer I have for that. I'm going to just have to see this summer and kind of see what happens.
Well, I think whatever you do, there's going to be plenty of opportunities for you. And I think the social media has been a good. That's Dave. It's not God in the background. It's talking to us. Anyway, so I think whatever you do, there's going to be plenty of opportunities for you out there. You're a smart guy, and so I wish you the best of luck. But we'll make sure we stay in touch in the future, and our doors are always open to you. Okay, so you're doing some formal training now as far as schooling and doing that kind of academic thing. What would be your advice if anybody is looking, whether it's to become like a mechanical engineer or to be in this industry somehow, whether it's a mechanic? What would be your suggestion to them? Would you say pursue going to school, skip school, and just get right into the industry and just do hands-on training? Where would you say to balance that, or should they do one or the other? What's your opinion there?
That's fair. I would encourage taking a stab at school. Especially if you have an inkling that you'd like to be an engineer, that's no way around it. You got to go to college to be an engineer kind of thing.
Yeah.
But if you enjoy your hobby and you can make money doing your hobby, make money with it. If you enjoy auto mechanics, I guess the risk of that is ruining your hobby for yourself. If you turn it into your entire job, you don't necessarily want to ruin the thing you love.
Right.
I've had the goal of being an engineer, kind of just worked my way through college, and but I think the hobby is something that I enjoy just as much, probably more, than the engineering side of things. So I think just diving in, whichever one you want to go for, don't worry about the long-term implications. If you want to learn how to work on cars, just get a project and start working on it. You can only, there's a quote, you can only learn, or you can't learn how to swim by reading about water, right? So
Right.
it's
It's going to tell you, that it's wet.
Exactly. Yeah,
Right.
and that's about it. So there's really not much more you can do. I hadn't picked up an angle grinder until probably junior year of high school. And so it's like I don't have a super long history of auto mechanics and learning how to do stuff. It's just like, hey, I want to learn how to rebuild an engine, so I'm going to go buy an engine and see what happens,
Right.
And it's a little bit of a risk, obviously, it's a couple $100. You got to kind of put yourself out there a little bit, but if you want to learn how to do something and you're ambitious about it, then nothing stopping you. There's a lot of YouTube videos to learn from. So
yeah, YouTube videos, or if somebody's building the 5.3, they could go to your channel and be like, okay,
exactly,
let's see how it's done. So you've got the Honda engine. Do you have anything else on your radar, just as an enthusiast, that you're like, oh, I want to build that next? Or are you just going to stick with the Honda?
Yeah, so I've got this Honda engine. I'm going to put it into that Accord eventually that I built the 5.3 in.
Nice.
Because that's got its original carbureted 75 horsepower lawnmower engine.
Yeah.
It's just no good. So that's hopefully going to go in there this spring, early summer kind of thing. And then my next big project is a hot rod. I've got a 1940 Chevy shell, basically. It's just a metal shell, nothing else. That I bought for $200 this last summer. So I'm really excited to get into that. That's kind of my dream car build.
Wow.
But I'm gonna finish this Honda first and then dive into that.
And then the next project.
Yep, exactly.
So are you just skimming through Facebook Marketplace, or where on earth are you finding some of these deals?
Yeah, Facebook mostly. I got this engine and the car it came in on Marketplace for $1,500 or $2,000, shot and fully running and driving and race car, ready to go kind of thing with the transmission, all that. So, and then, the hot rod, I got, one of my grandpa's buddies had it behind his shed and said that he bought it for $200 in high school. So he'd sell it for $200 now.
Wow.
So I bought it for $200. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, if you don't know this already, I'm going to make you aware that you have the disease that a lot of us also have. You're not alone, where you just are like, oh, I got to buy this, I got to buy that. These projects, it's there's a lot of people out there that share the same disease.
Yep.
It's a good one. There's a lot of good things that come from it. Okay, so do you have anybody that you want to collaborate with on a future build or anything that with your 40s Chevy or anything out there that you're like, man, that's there's Steve Morris engines that would be cool to put an LSX block in there or something like that. But do you have anything or anybody that you still want to meet that is like you want to check off that list?
Oh, that is a great question. It's hard to say. Once I get into it, it'll be a little bit more interesting. For the engine and whatnot, I've got a few companies I've talked to a little bit, just kind of, hey, eventually if we were looking to put something crazy in here, would you guys be willing to collaborate? And like Magnuson Superchargers is willing to join me on that, I think. So cool. We might get some crazy numbers pushing out of that. But oh man, I don't know. I'd love to collaborate with you guys at some point, just hang out and have a good time, make some videos.
Our door's always open.
Dude, yeah, we can set something up. I'm not too far away, so it works out. But I can't think of anybody off the top of my head that, I'm like, oh, I would love to, work with this precise person.
Right.
Really, the companies I work with right now, I'm happy with, and I don't necessarily want to work with too many companies. It's like kind of rather keep it pretty authentic and just do projects. It's really about the work.
Right.
So.
Right. Well, that's awesome. Well, any words of wisdom or advice? I think you've shared some good things, in my perspective, at least, to anybody that's looking at doing social media, just to not like attach your value to a certain follower number. But do you have any other advice on anybody thinking of doing a similar journey as yourself or starting social media that you want to get out there and let people know about?
That's fair. I've had quite a few people DM me and ask me this exact thing. Like, hey, I'd love to start filming my projects. How should I go about that? Right. I think that the biggest thing is to just go for it. There's a ton of people who will talk about, hey, I want to film my project. I'd love to, I really want to film this. It's like, just set your phone up and start taking videos. It doesn't have to be good.
Yeah.
I've gone back and watched my videos, and I'm like, I don't know why people watch this sometimes. It's like, it's not a well-made video. I prop my phone up on a coffee mug or something and just go.
So you don't have thousands of dollars of camera equipment. You're just doing it.
Yeah. Mostly iPhone. I got a GoPro this last summer, finally, just cause my phone's always out of storage. But I still use my phone for quite a bit of stuff. The GoPro's more for the YouTube side of things. But yeah, a lot of people will talk about really wanting to start the social media, and think that it has to be a good video, think it has to be really great. And like, they've got to have everything buttoned up and know how to do it right away.
Yeah.
But I think if you just set your phone up and press record, you can be authentic and get a lot done that way, without putting all the pressure on yourself to invest a lot early, So
right.
I'd say just going for it, just diving in.
I think that's good advice. Your authenticity and just your down to earth attitude, I think, really resonates with people. At least it does with us. Again, our whole shop is full of super fans of you and what you're doing, just because it's genuine. And I think that's, at least from our perspective, what resonates with us is you're just a guy that is building an engine, and you're okay not knowing like, oh, this is all the exact details. You're just diving in and learning and sharing that with the world, and that's authentic. And I think that's great. But I think it's also great advice. Like, you don't have to have thousands of dollars of equipment or a professional background in doing this. You just go for it. Just jump in.
Yep. Just diving in. I think not knowing and admitting that I don't know anything is part of what made the channel successful, especially right at the beginning. One of my first biggest videos, I think it's got 10 million views or something, was me filing my piston rings at my desk with a flat file. And I was just like, this is the only file I have, so I'm going to file some piston rings. And a lot of people, there's some people that get in the comments and say, oh, that'll never work. And some that say, oh, like, that's awesome that you're just trying it with a flat file. And so it's like, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to go for it and let people watch. And I guess that's what people like. And I don't know, but here we are.
Yeah. Well, I think it's great. I really appreciate you being on with us today. Love your story. We really hope, I've said it, I think 3 or so times now, but know sincerely that our door is always open to you. We'd love to be a part of a project with you, whether it's machine work or whatever, or just seeing you down here at the shop.
Heck yeah.
It's always open. You've got a great story. I hope everybody has listened to what Andrew is saying. And a young guy with so much wisdom is, you're going to go far. You have a bright future. We're excited to watch you in that and continue to be your friend through that journey. But anybody out there, thank you so much again. Andrew, you're phenomenal. Thank you so much for your time. We look forward to following the Honda and other builds and projects that you do. What a great journey this guy has been through. So many valuable lessons I think we can take away from this. Thank you again, everybody, for joining us on the Builders Lounge. We'll see you next time.